It's worth a pause to consider that if you don't engage the process, no matter what the result, you're not going to be happy with how it ends up. A joyful end requires a joyful means. There's a sense in which we need to relate with the process in a way that is in alignment, that you're agreeing to be a part of the process. Don't let cultural norms rob you or trap you into a false sense of what is possible and isn't possible. It is possible for you to take ground, even if you can't get to the Olympics. But it's not going to happen if you aren't moving. As humans, we prefer the path of least resistance. We crave convenience, the payoff without the price. But when our lives revolve around comfort, it doesn't deliver. Living in perpetual comfort leaves us weak and asleep. This podcast is an invitation to flip that script, to choose the unlikely path, to get the life you really want through voluntary discomfort. This is Strong and Awake. I'm Dane Sanders. Mitch, the survey, have you seen it?
Tell me more.
Well, it's amazing news for people like you and me. Apparently, in the United Kingdom, 27% of UK citizens right after the most recent Olympics believed if they had 4 years of dedicated training, that they too could be Olympians. And if that's right, that's a quarter of the population, more than a quarter of the population. You extrapolate that, I think there's great hope for you and me, except for the idea that is one of the most ridiculous ideas I've ever heard in my life. How is it? And they go on. It's just unbelievable. The age groups. So 27% of UK citizens believe they could qualify for the Olympics. About 39% of them are 18 to 24. 34% are 25 to 49. 15% are over 65 years old. I don't know what to say.
I mean, I wish I had that kind of just blind confidence. Maybe I wish it. That is absurd.
They go further. Like they actually talk about the sports that they pick, and some of this, do I get it? I don't know if I get it. So there's air rifle, 15% believing they could qualify for that.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah. Then archery, although they clearly have never done a bow and arrow before, 13%.
Yeah, no. I feel like probably most of those probably couldn't even draw a bow of that weight.
It would hurt. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow. Then, 4 years of training, but then, dude, 10% believe they could make it in badminton. 9% table tennis.
Yeah, there's no way.
3% believe they could make it in rhythmic gymnastics or skateboarding.
Nope.
No chance.
I don't even think probably most of those people could get into a splits after 4 years, let alone do any of that,
I just think of the actual Olympians to read this, how offended they would be. Like the blood, the sweat, the tears, the years, and only 3 of them get on the podium, let alone get in there. And then all the folks that don't get through the trials, that don't even get to the trials. Oh, God, where do we live? What planet are we on? What a great setup for today's conversation. My gosh.
Yep.
What are we talking about today, Mitch?
We're talking about the kind of aspiration of learning a new skill or hobby. I think this is a common kind of entry into your journal when you're thinking about New Year's resolutions or thinking about a new season. And I think everyone's probably got something that falls into this category. Now, making it to the Olympics or something, that's like a silly example. But there's a lot of things like, I want to finally learn how to play piano or play guitar, or finally, get that thing so we can go take that big trip that we've always wanted to take. That'll be a different episode. But I think lots of us have had these as a lot of these kind of repeat entries into those proverbial journals. And I think, the Olympics thing, it's easy to laugh and about just how absurd that is. But I guarantee you there's some category in my life, whether I'm watching a show or doing something, I'm like, I could totally do that. That'd be easy peasy. And then those people that have actually accomplished that or done that thing, would be laughing right back at me. So
that's right. And to be really clear, we're not looking to discourage anybody. Like if you have aspirations to go to the Olympics, that's exciting. But let's just lower the bar just for a minute. Like instead of starting there, let's start with starting anything. Like, oh, I've always wanted to rock climb. Oh, I've always wanted to play pickleball. I've always wanted, although if you're alive now, apparently everyone plays pickleball now. So this is what we do. Which again, the ping pong thing, I can't believe if you played pickleball and you think you can crush it at.
I'm like, they clearly have never watched a match. It's one of the most impressive.
Even
things.
Forrest Gump. Just watch Forrest Gump. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we're actually talking about then is what gets in the way of people actually getting the thing that they want. They want to learn a skill. And it's one of the most rewarding things you can do, like, is to learn. Like, I've always wanted to play the guitar. I could play the guitar. I'm going to play the guitar this year. This is my year. And what we want to talk about today is, okay, if it is your year, let's do a pre-mortem and talk about why it won't happen if you go with the cultural norms. Because I have a hunch many who are listening had aspirations a year ago, and the year before that, and the year before that, and lo and behold, the thing hasn't happened yet. And yet it could. But not if you go with the normal means by which people try to get these things. So we're going to do a little of a dissection as to what are those things, what do people normally try, and why don't they work very well, and maybe offer a little bit of insight on things that actually could get you what you're looking for. Maybe not at the Olympics. Actually, let's just say it up front. You're not going to the Olympics, but you could actually become disproportionately good and have so much fun doing things that you say you want to do, but it's not going to happen unless you're actually doing the thing. And that's what we want to get you into a position for, is to actually doing the thing, naming the thing, getting after the thing, knowing how getting good at something actually works, and actually getting good at it at a level that is so gratifying you don't even need to go to the Olympics to be proud of the thing that you're doing. All right. So how do we get into it, man? What's the best way?
Let's jump into it. I mean, I'd love to talk about kind of why people even think they want these things in the first place before we jump into kind of what they might actually want, and then obviously exploring some of the things that people have done in the past at various attempts at accomplishing these things. Yeah.
So in my experience, a lot of it is connected to like their current state, right? Like they want something new. They want a skill that's new that they don't have access to right now. And they feel stuck. Like they're in a position where they are doubting themselves. They are maybe impatient. Like, why am I not getting better at this thing that I do periodically, like once in a while? But in my experience, a lot of it is connected to really this sense of how will I look to other people in the messy middle, in the process of being bad at something. and I think that's some of it, right? Is this like, it's so much easier to say at a cocktail party, I want to get good at this, or I'm going to, in a journal or in a resolution or whatever, this is my year. And it's so different fundamentally to actually move in the direction of becoming that kind of person, doing the things to become, that it misses, it's fundamentally out of sync with reality. But in terms of what people want, I think for good reason, people want to transform. People want to go from, I'm in one place, I'd like to progress to a different place, and I have ambition for it. And I think in many ways, they're kind of describing they want to be at the top of the mountain and have the view. And fundamentally what we're talking about is they don't either know how to climb or they don't have any interest in actually climbing, because climbing is very uncomfortable, metaphorically and literally. That's what resonates with me. Does that resonate with you?
That really does. It really does. And I think especially the thing that you said about, like, it's so easy to like throw it out there. Like we talked about in previous episodes about like freedom from, like, it's so easy to be like, yeah, I could quit whenever I want. You know, it's like this, like, oh yeah, I mean, I could definitely make it to the Olympics. I could definitely learn guitar, you know, And one day I will this year, like, and you just forget, like, that you get that quick hit, that like kind of provisional commitment, like we've talked about, and you forget about all of that we talked about before this, like that awkward in between where you're growing out your hair, like that is part of the process. That's why I think people drop out whenever committing to something new after the first few weeks, because they like are ignoring that reality, that like fundamental truth about like any kind of transformation. Like, it's going to take that, and that's actually a critical part of it, like you said.
It's actually the best part.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but this isn't just like some necessary evil. This is actually the whole bit. The other part that occurs to me is, especially in our culture right now, where most of what we're getting bombarded with are images of performance without a practice that led to that performance, right? Like whether it's, crazy feats of, I forget the Instagram and YouTube people who like make ridiculous shots from miles away, like a basket.
Dude perfect,
right? Those dudes, or whatever. Like even fictions that we see. Like my friend Zach King likes to put on really clever videos that we all know are video edits of him doing the impossible. But there's a sense in which unconsciously, like, those are locked in as, no, that's the standard. And if I could either do it, or I could have an AI do it for me, or I could do a video edit to make me look like I do it. But I think there's these messages over and over again, and even just extraordinary feats of athleticism that we witness way more of now because of all of these things being captured and shared. I think that's got to be what's contributed. Like, we all watch the Olympics, and of course we would go, well, gosh, they're human, I'm human, they did it, maybe I could do it. Like, that's kind of some of the logic. But I also think that related to that is this cognitive trick that happens. Like, we fall into a trap as humans, all of us do, where we read about something, we see something, we're a consumer of something, and it occurs to us, like, as a consumer, we have the thing, we've consumed it, therefore we could become it. And even if that is true, because I think there is some sense of, like, we can be inspired to move in a certain direction, but thinking a thought, buying like, here's an example. I might see something sold to me, like marketed to me as, hey, this tool, this gadget, this program, this whatever, even stuff like MWOD, this will give you what you're looking for, in 3 easy payments. And you're going to be really happy that if you buy, I keep talking about pickleball every single episode. It's so funny. But if you buy this paddle, if you buy, play with these, not Franklin balls, you need to play with Dura balls, like whatever your thing is that you're playing with, that's somehow going to make the difference. And it's funny to me when I think of, like, I have a really close friend, a guy named Drew Bray, who is an extraordinary pickleball player. And he's also extraordinary at a whole bunch of things. And he's put a lot of time in to be extraordinary at those things. And it's so often he'll be like, I'll say, which paddle should I get? Or which, whatever should I get? And he basically kind of smiles and says, it doesn't matter. Like, the difference at your level, you'll not see any difference between the cheapest and the best. And why do we want the best product? At least for me, I'll confess, it's because I think that it's a shortcut. It's going to get me there quicker. It's going to, and the irony is, the people who are really good at it often learned how to be good with the most rudimentary, basic, like, non-technologically advanced tools, but they became the tool. They formed themselves in such a way where they actually became something different through a lot of time and effort. And what the case we want to make today is how we relate with that time and effort is all the marbles. Like, it's all the magic. And if you relate with it differently than what is culturally normative, you can make great progress towards your aspirations. You actually will enjoy that process far more than you think you will. But if you don't, if you go the route of the cultural norm of, like, oh, read about it, oh, buy the product, oh, buy the tool, buy the whatever, where you're going to land is a deep sense of feeling like a fraud, a deep sense of failure. Like I can't do it. I bought the stuff. I consumed the books, whatever, and I'm still not the person. Gosh, what is wrong with me? There's a sense in which we'll see ourselves really poorly and disqualify ourselves from actually getting the skill that we were looking to get in the first place. And I think that's the part that I'm most interested in listeners to consider is when you approach it the way that all humans have approached getting good at anything ever over all of history. When you approach it that way, which is very different than the cultural things that we're being sold all the time, you can make extraordinary progress. But it's going to look very different than what you're being sold, the lies that you're being told.
100%. And all of these tools, they're not like intrinsically bad. Like
no,
a lot of times,
amazing.
like they do actually, fulfill the promise in a lot of cases. Like I'm sure those balls are better. If you've ever played soccer with like an actual like World Cup replica ball, like it's a different experience, but it will also multiply. Like it will reveal to you how good you really are. Because if you misstrike that ever so slightly, that thing's sailing in the wrong direction. Same with like the nicest golf clubs have like a tiny sweet spot, and just buying the clubs will actually make you worse. Or like you said, like give you that kind of self-doubt. And I think that's what a lot of us do. The trap we fall in, like, oh, there's a shortcut, sweet. And you get in, you do feel this imposter syndrome. You get discouraged, and then it kind of perpetuates this cycle. So I'd love to like move into like, how do we, like, there's these, we've kind of talked about some of the like flawed solutions or kind of flawed thinking that we get into. Do you want to camp out on that anymore? I mean, I'm sure we could spend a lot of time on that in this episode.
Well, the only thing I want to do is be overt to say a little bit more kind of what we've already said, but just go a little bit further. So one kind of obvious thing that came out of that survey that we cited at the front of the episode was if we think something is going to, like if you're doing a remodel on your house and you think, here's what you can be confident in, it's going to take twice as long and cost twice as much. We know that all 100%. The time about remodeling something external to us. Well, why would we not think something similar about remodeling ourselves? And so this idea that because we see mastery in front of us means that we could access that mastery quicker or with less effort or somehow find an easy button to get to it. That's the first deception, that we're just, it is anything extraordinary means it's not ordinary. It's extra from it. So ordinary is half-hearted effort in less time than is required at less of a cost. And I mean that it could be financial, but whatever commodity you want to trade for it, it's going to cost you more than you think if you really want to get good. Good at a level where you're like, you're satisfied and people around you go, oh my gosh, that person is. And I don't know if that's the best motivation is to have other people say those things, but I will tell you it's a data point. It's telling you something. And to get better, it just takes more time and more resource. And none of that is bad news. It's actually really, really, really good news. And we'll get to why those things are good news in a minute. The second thing I want to just, again, point of emphasis is notion of wanting the view without the climb, wanting the results without the process. There's a lot of ways to say the same thing. It's worth a pause to consider that if you don't engage the process, no matter what the result, you're not going to be happy with how it ends up. A joyful end requires a joyful means. There's a sense in which we need to relate with the process in a way that is in alignment, that you're agreeing to be a part of the process. It's not like a necessary evil you have to put up with en route to, like I write, I'm in the middle of a writing project I've been in for a long time, and I am tricked constantly to this dream of the end result. If only I could hit a button and the book would be done. Mm-hmm. And those are always my worst days, always. And the days I forget about the book being published and get into the writing that day is 100% of the time my best writing. Every time. That same principle holds with any skill that we have. If you want to write a book, well, I hope you are gonna commit to enjoying being like writing, enjoying staring at a blank page, enjoying writing bad drafts and then trying to improve on those drafts over time. Maybe even getting input from other people, hiring coaches and going through a process that you go, how is this? Yeah, it's disproportionate. The amount of energy you need to put into the thing, what you put into the thing is going to be proportionate to the result you get. So that's the second thing is it takes longer than you think. It costs more than you think. And committing to the process over the result is fundamental. And then the last thing I just want to point to is we mentioned the kind of tricking ourselves cognitively or getting exposed, but just a respect for those who have gone there. I think like I'm a big fan of the NBA. I love watching, and I'm kind of the more I stare at these incredible athletes doing what they do, just unthinkable. I've heard it. I was reading Stephen Pressfield the other day, and he was commenting on how it's actually easier to become a brain surgeon than it is to make the NBA. And because at least with brain surgery, you can go to school, but like basketball's pretty rough, man. And these extraordinary talents who are extraordinarily skilled on top of their talent, it's so humbling. And then I see fans who are like, how did he miss that shot? How did he? You're like, how is he on the court is what I want to say. Like how, so there's something about, without being paralyzed by it, there's something about a healthy respect for masters, for what it takes to become excellent. That again, this will serve you because it forces us to a position of humility. And if we can move forward when we know we're not the thing, but we have ambition to become the thing with a sense of respect for what it takes to become the thing, you're going to make more progress than you think, especially if you give yourself the other principles, like a long enough time horizon and a sense of you do it every single day. And it's going to cost more and it's worth it because you're so in love with the process. So with those things in mind, just know that the shorthand for what culture gives as a prescription are the exact opposites of all those things. The culture says you should be able to get this quicker and easier than everybody else. The culture says that let's get a shortcut. Let's find a way to the view without the process. And the culture tells us that it should be easy. And as soon as you reverse your thinking on all those things, what opens up for you, and hopefully this is what we'll spend the bulk of our time today left talking about, is a means by which you actually can become the thing and make disproportionate progress in a way that feels like it's authentic, like you actually are becoming that thing.
I think having that respect for true masters, realizing that it does take some extraordinary effort to complicate it still, I think it does take that tension of like realizing that this extraordinary kind of result or effort, a lot of what that looks like is the very ordinary, mundane act of showing up, of taking those millions of shots or whatever, free throws. I think we can have this like very romantic idea of, like you said, like the mountaintop or being able to, or having this luscious garden. And you forget that like a lot of the gold is in the process, the very ordinary, mundane, yet actually pretty extraordinary if you compare it to how most people are living their life. And I'd love to spend the rest of the time talking about like, what is that unlikely path, or what does that journey look like?
Well, I wasn't planning on, no kidding, friends at home, I was not planning on sharing the example that occurs to me that I feel conviction to share. So Mitch has no idea what I'm going to tell him.
Ooh.
But I think this could be a healthy object lesson because I'm indicted in it. This is not some sage on the stage here. This is like real time. I'm in the midst of this right now, and I have ambition for something. I want something. And over the last extended period of time, I've been working diligently for a thing to happen, and it's meant to culminate tomorrow night. So at the time of this recording, we are headed towards the holidays, and in the holidays in my world, I have a number of families who were very, very close, and many of them, they're the parents I went to college with or knew in my early adulthood. We all started having babies around the same time. We raised our kids. We screwed up life. We got back on the saddle. These are my favorite humans in the world. They love me. They love me. There's not much in the world I could do that would upset our relationship. They're with me to the end. I can't imagine a safer place than these humans. And yet, tomorrow night, I don't believe it. And let me explain. Tomorrow night, friends, it's called Mistletoe Mayhem, and it's a talent show. And it's at a friend's house. And I'm going to say this a little quietly so that my wife and kids don't hear, because they don't even know this is going to happen. But it's been my aspiration my whole adult life, ever since my voice changed, to be a singer. And I don't sing. When I do sing, like in a church context or whatever, I sing away from people so they don't ruin the day for them. I've been called tone deaf. I've been laughed at, like not in a point and laugh, but just laughed. Like, of course, you're a bad singer, and me thinking like, but I want to be a good singer, and I'm not, and at least not up until now. And I mean, even declaring this out loud to you guys right now, I'm sweating, like talking about it. And the reason I'm sweating about it is because I'm actually, over this last extended period of time, I got clear that I promote a group called Men and Women of Discomfort, yet I am unwilling to do the very uncomfortable thing, which is put myself in a position where I could be the thing that I say I want to be, to embrace a process, especially when I have this kind of whole narrative around, I don't sing, I must be tone deaf. This is awful. Like, this is a bad idea. But the problem with this talent show is if you go, everyone needs to participate. And the other huge challenge is all the families that go there all happen to be like the Swiss Family Robinson family. Like, they all sing, they all dance.
No. It's the
oh, that's right. I'm making the movies wrong. It's not Swiss
yeah,
Family.
yeah.
They're not in a treehouse. They're, what is it? Sound of Music.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Sound of Music. What is their name? This is like my kid's favorite.
Yeah, because
Mitch,
you're one of these families. You can sing, you can dance.
Or the Partridge Family. We can use that example.
Great.
Yeah.
We're like the Brady Bunch. We're not the Partridge Family. But the point is simply, our family, because my poor kids are my kids, we go to these events and we basically like hide in the corner. I'm quietly thinking, how can I access alcohol and just get through the night? But tomorrow night, what I've actually put myself on the hook for is, with the help of my friend Drew Bray, who I mentioned earlier, I've met with him, I've sung in front of him, I've been practicing, and what's going to happen is he's going to come up on stage and he's going to start playing. He goes, hey, tonight we have a special guest who's going to sing, and nobody knows who it is, and I'm going to be over in the corner with a drink in my hand or whatever, and as he starts playing, he's going to like call up one person to play the rhythm section, somebody else to play the piano, and he'll be on guitar. And my job is to, from the crowd, start singing and walk towards the stool that's next to him, like hand my drink to my wife, who doesn't know I'm going to do this. My kids will be dying because they've heard me sing, and I will sit in that stool and I will sing. And it's like a 4-minute bit, like it's no big deal. And yet, friends, this might be my most terrifying act of my life. Like, I'm being dramatic again, but my point is simply, it's happening. Like, I'm on the record right now saying it. It hasn't happened yet, but what it's taken to put myself in a position to walk towards that stool. I've sung this little ditty 800 times, and out of utter fear, out of like total, like, I'm going to embarrass myself, and this is going to be a mark in our history as a group of families. And the reason I want to emphasize this is the level of discomfort I put myself in is so that I can walk to that stool in complete ease and total comfort. It's an exercise in delayed gratification. And I think this is the fundamental piece I want to invite people to consider is, as a broad level kind of rule, just know, if you want to get good at something and you want to experience performing that good thing, just commit to a practice that you know is going to be disproportionately uncomfortable. That if it isn't uncomfortable, you're doing it wrong. If there's an easy way to get to your stool, whatever your thing is, it's not going to work. And the reason I have such confidence, even before it's even happened, is because I'm ready. I've done the work. I put myself in a position, and I can barely believe it. I can barely believe it. Like rehearsing in front of my friend Drew, he's affirming my voice. I've never been affirmed for my voice since my voice has changed. I've been mocked internally and externally. And he's surprised. But none of us should be, because when you put the time in, it doesn't take a lot to get close to the thing you want. And now it's sounding like I'm being contradictory. Looking back, it doesn't feel like a lot. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Moving forward, it feels Herculean. Looking back, it kind of looks like, oh, that was... And I could say the same thing, by the way, if I wanted to learn the Rubik's Cube, which I know how to do. And I could also say the same thing about my often cited pickleball game, which I was awful at. And I'm not awful anymore. And none of it is braggadocio when I say this. This is just, I'm clear about a practice or a process that I put myself in. And I often don't do it alone. I often practice with other people who are also trying to get better at certain things. And there's a sense in which you all just kind of relax and go, well, we're all going to be bad at this for a while, and we're all okay with that. And we settle in, and we put our reps in. And after a while, you go, none of this is about tomorrow night at the talent show. It's actually the gold mine is not the performance. It's actually the gold mine. Like, the performance will be fun, but I'm now a singer. I could sing for the rest of my life if I want. Like, I'm in a position where I get to play with this humbly, I'll say humbly, like, modest skill, but it's a skill that you can make progress with. And I'm confident that as long as I keep learning, like practicing what I've been learning and doing the things, this is something I get to enjoy my whole life. And the enjoyment of it very rarely will ever be on a stage. Almost all of it will be in my car, in my shower, in like in places that are really just for me. And I say all this as an example, and you tell me if it was a bad decision to share all this with you. But
you'll have to send me a recording of your performance, and then I'll tell you.
Sure. Well, yeah, happy to.
And it's the Von Trapp family, by the way.
Von Trapp. Oh, thank you for that. Oh, yep. Good close loop.
All of our listeners are yelling at us right now, and
that's right. But here's what's consistent about this exercise. Number one, there's nothing about this that was quick or easy. Nothing. Facing my fears, facing my inner dialogue. I'm a fraud. All those things. All of that is true. It wasn't until I wanted the climb that I had access to the view. That was fundamental. And ultimately the climb became the whole thing, is the whole thing. And it's a fun little bonus. My level of respect for the actual singers, for those of us who watch things like American Idol or The Voice, and we have a critique of people when they're a little pitchy, try your hand. See how that works for you. And this is where humility is like this gift. Like, I don't find myself being a fan in the crowd yelling and saying, you idiot. I find myself in the crowd going like, I can't even believe you're on the field. You're a hero. You are like, you're amazing. I even think like I've shared this on the show before, but to my great shame, I used to have this really significant, I say this as confession, friends who are listening. I had this really ridiculous judgment about people who were obese. And it was with my dear friend, Tim Kruger, when we were going to the Y in the early days, who I confessed this to. And he helped me. He said, can you imagine how hard it must be for those people to actually walk in the door? To actually know that everyone's looking at them and have a judgment of them and they're showing up. And all of a sudden they transformed in my eyes from like someone I looked down on to someone I looked up to, and went, would I do that if I were in their shoes? And this is the virtuous life, friends. When we can wrap our life around a humble perspective, life is better. You're grateful. You're full of joy. There's the joyful means to the joyful end. And if you're a curmudgeon, if you're naturally disposed to be grumpy, try to get good at something without beating yourself up. And this is a very natural outcome that comes from these dynamics. And now it's so funny, this talent show that I used to hate. I can't wait to hear my friends who are actually have been doing what been doing for a little window of time. They've been doing for decades. I can't wait to listen. I'm going to enjoy it with new ears because I have a little taste of what it takes to put yourself in that position. And I want this for my friends. I want this for all of our listeners to go like, you guys, friends at home, you have aspirations to be something, to do something. Don't let cultural norms rob you or trap you into a false sense of what is possible and isn't possible. It is possible for you to take ground, even if you can't get to the Olympics. But it's not going to happen if you aren't moving, if you're not getting into that sweaty, uncomfortable position. And this whole show exists to invite that process forward, like to become strong and awake. And we want this for you, not just for you, but for those you care about. And my hope is, even as I put myself on the hook, and I'll let you know how it goes, but that you at home do your version of that too. That you don't have to wait until January 1st to put yourself on the hook to get after something. Instead, you go, this is how it works. And I want this enough to pay the price, time, resources, all the things, to do the reps, to make this kind of something I touch every single day. And then it becomes an inevitability. You will get to where you want to go in a way that surprises you and is more about the process than it is the outcome.
Yeah. And what I heard in that is that what you kind of gain, you haven't even had the performance yet. You haven't even like showcased all the work that you've been doing. You haven't, put it to the test per se. But what
I
you
could
gained,
actually screw it. I could even screw it up tomorrow night.
Oh, totally.
It doesn't matter. Like,
exactly.
that's the irony. Yeah.
And what you've gained is not just like an appreciation. You've gained humility. You've become more skilled in this thing.
Right.
Like what I loved about that example is that you, like you said, you're now a greater appreciator of other experiences that you have yet to have because of this investment, because of this process, whether you perform or not. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what a lot of us miss out on. We want, like you said, the view without the climb. And so many of us miss out on that process too, not just because we don't start it, but because we try to suppress or distract or whatever throughout the whole process. But one of the beautiful things about hopping on and recording this podcast is that I get to listen back to myself. And as cringy as that is, like I become better every time I am editing these episodes. I realize how many times I say or repeat things or stall out or look off. There's a million things, but I wouldn't be growing unless I'm putting myself in that uncomfortable position of first doing the thing, two, putting myself up on the hook to actually like get on and record these things, but also like reflecting on that process. And, the reality is like, whether we hit publish on this or not, I'm better for it. And I think we miss out on that fact.
One last little kind of call out that you're reminding me of as you're sharing is whenever we've talked about credo or the process of change or committing things, ratcheting up our commitment from actually having an intention to it actually showing up in the real world, there is a necessary stage in that again, we pointed to, but I want to be overt to say, if you're going through a process and you just find like, gosh, doors are flying open and it's just easy peasy, either you're just before the hard part or you're doing it in a way that is not actually in alignment with what's actually going on. It almost reminds me of like, sometimes I'll see people stretching or go to physical therapy for something and I'll be like, oh, I can do the thing. And I'm doing the thing and it doesn't actually feel that uncomfortable. And then a skilled guide will come over to me and like tweak me 2 inches. I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. This is awful. And they're like, this is the only place where anything valuable is happening. It's this spot, actually. And I say that to say, if you've come up against it and you're like, oh, I'm just bad at this, like your narrative is, I don't have the talent for X, Y, or Z. My encouragement is that feeling, the invitation is to rewire your thinking that when you have that feeling, you're actually on the road to the thing. It's not an indicator of you've hit a dead end and you're done. It's no, you're attending to the obstacle that is, in Ryan Holiday's words, the way. And unless you're coming up against it, you're not making progress towards it. That it's a fundamental kind of rewire. And when you get that in play, or you're around others who have that in play, who can remind you, and when you forget, because we all forget, it can be so encouraging because it's normal. Like in the CrossFit world, you get comfortable being uncomfortable. You embrace the suck. You go to the hurt locker. You remodel your pain cave, in Courtney DeWalter's language, as an endurance runner. And it's one of the reasons why MWOD is so significant to me, Men and Women of Discomfort, because I get to do this with friends who understand how the world actually works if you want to get better at a thing. And we methodically look at the whole of your life and invite you to get better at everything, like comprehensively. And in that regard, it's one of the, if no one ever finds out about it, I don't care, because I get to do this every single day for the rest of my life. And as I do, my own sense of human flourishing, of Dana flourishing, increases radically. And then the last benefit, of course, is other people see it. And they go, oh, that's a path that I could take too. And we hope that that's what this is for folks.
Yeah, and if you thought you tuned into this episode to learn how to finally start your garden or to learn how to play guitar, hopefully this unlocked it for you. But also, I've just been grateful for the greater nuance and a reminder of a truth that I've come to know through this conversation. And of course, like your performance that's coming up here, maybe by the time this is published, you'll have already performed. You can leverage these things and put yourself on a hook in a way where you can kind of bring more of yourself to it. You've enrolled a coach to do this. And that's exactly kind of like what MWOD is too. It's You're not going it alone. And you can leverage some of these, in some of the language that we've used in the past, these short-term or finite games in a sense to play that infinite game and to play it that much better. So I encourage you, it's probably not for you, but if it is, we've got all kinds of links and ways for you to apply. So I encourage you to check out the description for that.
Mitch, what are you on the hook for now in life? What do you want to get better at?
Ooh, one of the things that I'm realizing is that I am someone who is really motivated by like the start of something. So for me, it's actually like going deeper on a couple of current hobbies that I have, and not just starting a new thing, because that's easy for me. Like I know a lot of people, the start is the hard part, or they can't get over that. That's where I live. I just like have about 1,000 other hobbies and interests. So for me, it's going deeper, and particularly not just in a hobby, but I want to get better at like leading others well. That's like, again, not a traditional hobby, but I think it is a skill that you can invest in. And so being a better leader to my family, being a better leader to folks in our community, contractors, people that I work with, I think that's one of my big investments that I'm going to be moving towards in this coming year. Okay, I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for.
Well, but, it's perfect, actually, because I have two more questions, and this is for you, but also for listeners.
Sure.
So when you describe being a better leader in particular, like what would be skills or areas or activities, things you'd be doing with your physical body that would indicate to you that you are a better leader?
I think it starts with leading myself well. Mm-hmm. And the big thing that I come back to is one of the anchors that we talked about, which is prioritizing profit. And I think for me, I realize it's very obvious to me the things that are not profitable in my life, the things that I've committed to, the distractions, or the other, million other fun starts to things that actually take away from the deeper investment, whether that is like, seriously, it's tinkering, it's new hobbies, it's new rabbit holes I run down. So for me, like what it looks like is moving toward those things that are higher profit. And sometimes that is less amusing, less exciting, less fun in the short term. But I have a hunch because of, I've done this in the past and now hold some of these things as fundamental parts of my practice, that once I step away from those things and give those things up, like I'll experience the benefits of those things that I'm replacing them with, even as ordinary or mundane or hard as those things are. Did you have two questions?
The first thing. The second one. The second one is actually not for you, but for folks at home. Folks at home, if you want that too, if you want to go deeper with the things and remove the distractions and have the utter gift and joy of looking back at a series of decisions with a sense of satisfaction and gratitude that you did the hard thing instead of the tendency, the easy path, join us. Jump in to our community. No time like right now. And if you want to do that, MWOD.io/apply. And even if it's just to hang out with Mitch, that alone, I get to do this every single week, friends.
Dane will sing for you. That is our offer. No.
Yeah, just so grateful for you, man. And so grateful to be doing this with you.
Mm-hmm.
Men and Women of Discomfort is our membership community. and we are open to everyone. But keep in mind, our tagline is, "It's probably not for you." If we're wrong about that, or if you want to find out for yourself, you can find us at MWOD.io.